Gamefi to the moon? What's next for web3 gaming implementations?
Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm Stephen Arnold, I'm the CEO and creative director of Fracture Labs, the developers of Decimated. I'd like to welcome all of my panelists. We've been having a bit of a chat before we came up on stage, so why don't we quickly introduce ourselves?
Absolutely, thank you, Stephen. I'm Enrico, I'm the co-founder of Polyverse. Polyverse is a Web3 game that's based on the WEX blockchain, but leverages multiple other blockchains to access it through the NFT technology.
Yeah, my name is Emre. I'm the co-founder of Nadma, a Dubai-based Web3 incubator and consultancy firm, and we help companies around areas of fundraising, token and NFT economy designing, fundraising in the regards of launchpads, as well as with strategy and go-to-market design.
Hey guys, I'm Key. I've been in the world of blockchain for the last 10 years, and I'm the founder of Key Difference. It's an accelerator and a fund focused on Web2 to Web3 businesses, and I'm also co-founder of Forward Protocol, which helps people get to the world of blockchain in a few clicks. Super excited to be here.
Nice to meet you all, guys. So, about the topic, of course, is about Web3 implementations, the future of Web3 implementations. So, I've got some experience with development over the last 6 years working Web3. I've pivoted a lot of times between different chains. We started off with Ethereum, and then we went over with Solana. And a lot of the layer 1 and layer 2s are providing a lot of tools and SDKs and plugins for developers to use. So I wanted to kind of like leverage your experience in the space. Like, what are you guys aware of that's currently in the market that game developers can use?
I believe that as of now, it's important to notice what type of chains are actually built or have some features that are actually toward the gaming world, because sometimes people think about regular game, Web2 gaming and Web3 gaming, we kind of make a difference between it, but the core of the product is an actual game you have to enjoy. So in my opinion, it's not necessarily related to the type of tools or SDKs that they put available, that they make available, but what was the chain first thought for like the generation, you know? Not all chains were thought or were created to actually withstand some game mechanics. There are some chains that are, there are some chains that aren't, and at that point I would think, and I would recommend anyone that's trying to build a game to first focus and understand if the gas fees dynamics, the smart contract dynamics, and other important tools for implementations that are there are actually made or thought to actually withstand a proper game. Not just go with the best community, the best grants, or what's easier and most hype in the market right now, but actually focus on the technology first, because at the end of the day, we're all making a game.
I think my viewpoint would be in regards to what the game is actually going to be using crypto for and Web3 technology for, because every game has different use cases of crypto. So there's many different types of SDKs and tools available in different layer 1 and layer 2 blockchains. And additionally speaking, it's about what that game wants to do with Web3. There's NFT integration SDKs, there's token integration and SDKs, there's tools for marketplaces, for ecosystems, all of these different avenues of use case. So I think it's about games understanding how they want to use Web3 and then finding the right blockchain, layer 1 or layer 2, that fits exactly their use case for what they're trying to achieve. Because if not, the feasibility of the gas fees, the UI side, the difficulty with coding, cost efficiency with the development side, the integration into the gameplay itself, and potentially sacrificing the user interface of users of the game is a big risk. So I think this is something that I would see that games need to prioritize with deciding which blockchains to work on. And by deciding so, the SDKs and tools would be appropriate to the exact use case of the on-chain implications of the game itself.
Nice, thank you.
I think right now we are starting to see this evolving more, because in the start, the chains did not really make a choice. It's not like the chain said, okay, I want to attract only gamers. We went with the trend. There was a trend in the space, and now you need to capitalize it. You got to get more transactions going, and you did what you got to do to attract them. But like other speakers said, it is important for a particular ecosystem to choose who their target audience is, because the space cannot work as a generalist space. Every chain is different fundamentally how it works. The tools that they have and how it can interact with the game differs. A game might have different uses. The game might work differently or interact with the chain differently. But at the end of the day, in a bigger time scale, you're looking at Web2 gamers coming to use Web3. And speed and the user experience, the meta transactions, things like that, they're all great. But what do gamers want? They want to play. And I've seen some hackathons, gaming hackathons, where it's been funny. They show a demo of a game, they do something and they wait. They wait for the settlement of the transactions before they can do something else. People don't have time, they don't have that patience. So it's a matter of the technology of a particular chain trying to figure what their target audience wants. If it is gamers, then what do gamers want, or game studios want, and how do you build solutions for them? Because at the end of the day, a chain is not like an like the holy grail. It is an infrastructure. They are a service provider to their end users, which are the game developers, development studios. So who would cater the best would be the ones who would be attracting the most, because the game of giving grants or marketing or bonuses to attract, it is going to end sooner or later. The real business kicks in, and when that happens, it's a matter of a pure Google sheet to compare how do you actually help me as a game studio and how can I work with it.
Yeah. I mean, in our case, you know, when we raised back in 2021, the ambition was for us to develop all of the tech that we needed for Web3 integration into Unreal Engine and Microsoft PlayFab. But then, of course, the amount of money and time it was going to cost to develop all that stuff is going to eat into so much of our budget. So our exec producer smartly said, why don't we just wait for a year or two until other people develop the tech, and the chains themselves also develop the tech. And now, of course, you've got all this plugins and SDKs for custodial wallets, for NFT marketplaces, for token generation, for NFT minting, that kind of stuff. So they definitely make it a lot easier for people. And as well, of course, there's grants available from all the different layer 1s and layer 2s to try and get developers like us onto their chains, you know. So I think that there's a lot of solutions out there for people that are in the audience that are maybe developing games or other types of tech. Stardust, for example, are a partner that do custodial wallets integrated. They work with Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana. But yeah, I mean, the list goes on. And I think as the industry has matured, there's a lot more technology available to make it a lot easier for people, because it is a very complicated thing to integrate. So you should let those companies develop their technology and make it as easy as possible for developers like us to integrate.
I think that let me just quickly jump in on there.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the biggest problems that the industry has faced before. Everyone trying to develop the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
Like you saw what happened with the bridges, and then finally layer 0 came into play, and what happened with the wallets, and every aspect of it, people wanted to create something for themselves because they thought that's a better way to do. But as you rightly said, businesses don't work that way. You are in your own business. If gaming is your space, gaming is what you need to be doing. All the other infrastructure you got to borrow from BaaS providers, blockchain as a service providers, or other entities where you just pay for it. It's so much cheaper, so much effective, but everyone should focus on their strengths than trying to be everyone for everything.
So there's a lot of trending topics right now in Web3 gaming, including play-to-airdrop, nodes, and obviously people are really eager to see the gameplay rather than just cinematic trailers. So what has been like the hottest narrative for you guys over the last few months, and what are your thoughts on it?
I believe that as of now, the main narrative, the main dynamic that's going on that wasn't going on before is the play-to-airdrop, and I believe that's a good dynamic if done in the proper way. So if I'm not just trying to have people relentlessly play without having an actual proper game, just for them to make a capital gain, just for them to actually make a financial gain, I don't think that's the right way to go. The right way to go, in my opinion, is to have the players kind of beta test, so that we actually involve the community. So where do we go? That kind of decentralization that everyone is talking about, democratization of the games that are on Web3 with respect to the ones that are on Web2. I get rewarded for what I do thanks to the play-to-airdrop dynamic. I'm able to, let's say, organically farm the wallets. I'm able to get monthly active users, monthly active wallets. I'm able to airdrop to people that actually helped me develop the game, helped me bring it forward, gave me the feedback, gave me what I actually needed to do the debugging, and I think that's really good, and that's something that regular Web2 games can do. With respect to the nodes, I do believe that's a topic that it requires quite a lot more of time that we have, but it's something that people that are really interested in should actually focus on. But again, to me, the main narrative right now and the most important dynamics that we see are going to be the play-to-airdrop and the stake-to-play. Those are the two ones that I believe are an addition to what happened in Web3 gaming in the past 2 years.
Cool. Emre?
I think the play-to-airdrop, move ahead in the market has been very good, because it's actually, I think, better than the traditional existing airdrop mechanic that we've been introduced to with gaming, right? play to airdrop pretty means that users that are actively using the game have a chance of getting an airdrop. So you're actively rewarding your active users with in-game items, not necessarily only your tokens, but also in-game items and in-game tokens. So the retention rate of these rewards are substantially more sustainable. Because airdrop's biggest issue on a token economy perspective as well, when everyone looks at these, is giving out free stuff, right? And these free stuff have negative impacts to the market. I know it's a marketing thing, which provides use case for community growth, but this has to be done very, very carefully. And when I say carefully, I mean sustainably. Sustainably in the way whereby giving the active users the rewards through airdrops, items, or tokens to use within the game, keep the retention of these rewards in the game, is significantly more, well, common sense wise makes more sense. I think this could be improved a bit more, maybe through leadership ways or through leaderboards or through different types of campaigns. This can be integrated into more complex and efficient ways. But I think the reason why play to airdrop has been a bit more of a trend is because it's more sustainable ways of rewarding users and retaining users and adding these reward mechanics for the actual daily active users of current games, which in this current market, daily active users is a big issue in games due to lack of gameplay and lack of these incentives in place. So I think this play to airdrop thing is still kind of new, but still growing really fast. But I think over time, we will perfect it over the next few months and years, hopefully.
Yeah. Key?
I think the answer's already here, that it's an airdrop and etc. But the focus that I want to bring about is that is just a mechanic. It's a gamification mechanic. But that mechanic is not the holy grail. It's not the answer for the end result. You're looking at a stickability factor. Why do you do an airdrop? You do an airdrop because you want to attract audience and get people to know that there's something here, something interesting, there's something for you. But then the people come here, they explore the product, explore the game, or try to see what's there. Probably it's buggy, you give them some more bonus to get that feedback, to build it. But end of the day, the stickability is the product itself. If the game is interesting, then they stick with it. The airdrop cannot be the end of the journey. It is the beginning of the journey. Can you get the people engaged in the game so much that after the airdrop is gone, are they going to still be playing it? Or is it just some token play for you to get some people to the listing? That's two different parts there, and that's unfortunately what's happening in the space. Airdrop is used as a means of token marketing, but not as a product adoption and user growth marketing side. So I think the focus is not what is the most important trend to attract people. It is about how the trend correlates with your business objectives, business KPIs, which is beyond the token factor, but your actual long-term sustainable end result of your product.
Yeah. I mean, in our case, we originally planned, the vision was originally to build everything on chain, integrate Ethereum into Unreal Engine, and we realized quite quickly that it was not scalable. It was really slow and really expensive. So we were trying to find solutions, and after 6 years now, the solution is to keep the Web3 part separate from the game and just have leaderboards inside the game where we still have control. If there's any exploits in the game, at least we can control who we're actually going to issue the rewards to, So if somebody finds an exploit and they're able to cheat and kill everybody on the server and then be at the top of the leaderboard, then we feel like, okay, well, that's a hacker or a scammer, so let's just make sure that we don't give them the rewards and we ban them, for example. Shrapnel, for example, they recently did their closed alpha test. They had to ban 200,000 accounts that were all trying to find exploits to win the rewards that they were issuing. So yeah, it's a big problem that you've got to deal with, and a lot of traditional gamers or game developers like PUBG, for example, they're banning hundreds of thousands of accounts on a daily basis. So you need to have control as a game developer or a publisher that your product is not entirely on chain, where if there's an exploit, it could cost you and your community and your product millions of dollars, So you've got to maintain control that way. Okay, let's move on to something else. So. Yeah, Emre, you wanted me to ask this question about how Gamefi tokens are implemented into games and how has it been done successfully so far? Tell me some of maybe the success stories and some of the failures.
Yeah, so I really want to talk on this topic. Thank you so much. So a lot of gaming projects create tokens, and most of the time this is generally unsuccessful, and there's a number of reasons. So I think it's important to understand why games actually have tokens, right? I mean, when we go to the very beginning of why gaming projects create tokens, it's usually as a method of fundraising, right? So projects usually find the token route more easy to raise funds, so they go with the token route, more liquid than equity, generally speaking, and in this current market, since the cycle in 2021, gaming has been a very big trend. However, the implementations of gaming tokens, I think, is so far been mainly unsuccessful due to the fact that it's not that the token is completely bad, it's that the product is not the focus. If games are not designed correctly, and if games are not designed to retain users without needing to reward them, this is very difficult to retain users in the whole lifetime of a company, especially a company like a game, which is a very competitive market. You know, you have more games coming out every day. And additionally, what companies and games do, and they have to, this is the mechanic of the on-chain side with the rewards, is they reward these tokens to users. Reward these tokens to stakers, to people who play the game. The reward mechanics of these tokens are highly unsustainable. An airdrop is one example, but you have games where people simply play it, they get tokens. And this is a very, very unsustainable cycle, because the demand of a token is to use within the game, potentially. But when you're giving out so many tokens to attract people, and the game is not at the quality it should be, people only play the game to get monetized and get money. So when the token eventually, due to this high reward emission side and low demand side, and the investors that you may have sold to, the token eventually goes down in value, naturally, as there's more sellers and you're releasing more tokens. So what happens is the monetization incentive for people to play the game goes down. And when this happens, because the game's quality is not at the level it should be, user base and MAU, daily active users, go down. And this eventually leads to the end of the game, unfortunately. So this is, I think, one of the main topics of discussion. How do games currently use tokens to integrate in their ecosystem? How can we use it more successfully? And how can we make it so that not every game is fully focusing on the token, but putting 90% of their focus on the game, the product, and maybe a 10% on the on-chain side, which includes a token, as a way to retain users, to introduce them to Web3 and the wonders of Web3, and potentially find new ways to implement the on-chain side specifically to the game itself. So I think that would be my understanding and explanation of it. I think this is one of the most important points of improvement in the gaming side, because every game has a token, mainly as a utility token, a reward token, a payment vehicle into the project, but the focus is on the token, not on the game. And I think that's something that needs to be improved.
Do you guys have any thoughts?
For sure. So I think it's like he said, it is important to differentiate the quality of the game, the product itself, from the economics. And the economics with the crypto-based games is twofold. The economics of the business with their finances on one side, and then the token and the token economy. It's like two really different parts. You cannot have a system where you charge in tokens and then you sell those tokens back in the market. It's as good as creating a demand and destroying the demand. So there are more dynamics in play than in a traditional ecosystem. Traditionally, you got to raise some funds, you build your game, you sell, you generate revenue, you create a balance sheet, you're positive, that's great, you grow. It was simple, but right now it's not. Especially certain games, they do have a DAO, and there's some voting procedures, and they have even a new layer of complexity. When you mentioned about it, you are clear. You are not saying, okay, I want my game to be the decentralized game. You wanted a level of control to bring in the quality aspect, which is great. There's a clarity that as a founder you need to have, and that's the same thing that every other business should have. Blockchain is a technology. It doesn't vouch for decentralization or centralization. It doesn't vouch for one thing or other. It gives all the possibilities, allowing the founder to choose what they want to do. That clarity has to emerge with every individual business owner on the way they want the direction to be for their business. And there are more elements right now than ever before. More elements also means more chances of failure, more chance of screwing something up, and that requires careful consideration. And I believe as we progress, there's going to be more instruments. Like I do know for game economy, just to run the economics as a simulation, financial simulation, there's a company who does that. So there are more and more products and solutions that are coming up to solve these critical problems within these ecosystems. But I think that there is at least an 1-2 years of development cycle of solutions that has to bridge this gap, because we are still super early on. And when I look at most games, I can see that the tokens have no inherent way for them to sustain themselves. Even if the game is super successful, the game could have a lot of players, but the token will always struggle. That's the nature of the inflation that exists out there. So it requires a balance on both sides and a focus on both sides. It cannot be either or if you require the game and the token to survive. It's two different businesses, and they can be combined with strategic elements, but they need attention and care equally for them to win.
Cool. Henri?
Yeah, I think I want to take a more, I agree completely what they said. So I don't want to add anything to that part, but I want to just go a little bit more philosophical on it, because we should think about the fact that if we want the market to grow, if we want the projects to grow, we actually have to get real users. And with real users, I mean people that are in for the game, people that are in for the entertainment, for the actual product. As of now, we have Web3 enthusiasts, and sometimes we have speculators. The problem that they were depicting were mostly due to some speculators that are there to get the token, dump it on the market, and actually kill a project without giving them the ability to actually deliver on the product. So every project should be thinking about the potential selling pressure they will have when they do a play-to-airdrop, when they do any type of reward system. So that's absolutely important. The other thing we have to think about is that if you really want to go toward the monetization scheme that many Web2 games actually have, we do need to have a hybrid in-game purchases, which can be done through a utility token, through your own token, whether it is something similar to the COD points or the season pass. That kind of needs to happen because it has proven in Web2 to actually work and for people to actually enjoy it. So I think we should go down that route.
Sounds good. Thanks for your expertise, guys. It's been really valuable. Thanks everybody for listening, and I think that's all we've got time for, so have a great afternoon, everyone.